I like to start with the question, really sort of the genesis of these films, and Felix, we'll start with you. I understand you saw a play called The Broken Circle Breakdown, right?
The title of the play was actually The Broken Circle Breakdown, featuring the cover-ups of Alabama. Mouthful. And a beautiful play made by Johan Heldenberg, who's the male lead of the movie. He's a great actor and playwright and filmmaker. Actually, he made a film too.
And you'd worked with him before in another film.
Yeah, he played in 2 of my movies. And I saw it. I loved it. I went to see it again. I said it's not possible to turn this into a movie. It's great, but I'm not gonna do it. And then it kept coming back to me. So I think 6 months later, the producer and I we spent like a week somewhere in France, in Avignon, in a house, and I was thinking about what my next movie should be. And then I wrote Johan an email like, could you send me the text of your theater play? And then Dirk hadn't seen the play, but we both read it again, and I listened to clips on YouTube of the songs that featured in the theater play, and I started crying again and crying, and Dirk thought it was fantastic too, just on the basis of the text, and we said, well, we'll go for it. We'll try and do it. We have no idea how, but we'll try and make it work.
And then the two of you adapted the screenplay from the play, because it must be much different. Those of you who haven't seen it, Broken Circle Breakdown has incredible transitions, but they're not the obvious ones. It's at first blush you're not quite sure where you are. You actually do catch on immediately, but it goes from several different time periods without a single indication that you're moving times.
Well, that's something that came about. That the process to get to that in the end that was making the movie. It took 2.5 years to get to that, and when we started working on the screenplay, which I didn't adapt with Johan, but with another screenwriter, Carlios, we always knew that we were gonna have to play with time, because the theater play in a way worked like that too, but it wasn't. It was just 2 people talking, and it was actually a bluegrass concert, and then in between the songs they would talk to the audience and tell their story. But you knew very quickly that it was about an ex-couple who had lost a kid, and so it was very quickly very emotional. I started crying after 20 minutes and just didn't stop. And in order to, that experience was just so overwhelming that I thought that the movie should try and reach that too, or that theater play. I always, it was always like that experience I had was always like the big inspiration. We have to get to what I experienced the first time I saw it. So when we started writing, we developed different storylines. We went back and forth. But we redid everything in editing because it wasn't working the way we wanted it, and we forgot about the screenplay, and just Nico Leun, who is the editor, he at some point just said, let's forget about the screenplay and start over, and that, those last weeks of editing where we discovered that were very, very magical.
Interesting. Rithy, and with you, how did this film come about? I understand it's based on a book you wrote?
At the beginning, no. I finished writing a book, and I went to the shooting, and I worked with few Khmer cinematographer, and I would like just to know how the totalitarianism government produce their own propaganda, how they vehicle their ideology. And I worked with this Khmer cinematographer for more than 1.5 years. And I remember that I never go back to my home, because I leave my home since in 75 when the Khmer Rouge come to power, and I have never back there again because when we leave the home we are numerous. We are my parent with my parent, and now it was impossible for me to go back home alone. So, but I decided at this time to go back to the home, but I did not recognize my home, and it's transformed to the brothel with gambling, karaoke. So I told to my team. I told to my team that maybe we can construct a model because I remember very well what it looked like. So we start to build a model, but we are not architect, you know. The window is too big, etc. So I asked to my assistant, please produce for me a figurine represent a little boy as like I was when I was 13, and we can build a home around this little boy. And one of my assistants start to sculpt. He asked me, "Do you want it in wood or stone?" No, in clay. Like we were young, you know, we have not toy, but we have clay in the river, and we produce a figurine, and we invent story with that. And he start to sculpt first figurine, and it was amazing. It's very expressive, and that I remember that I have a feeling that what I can say that it's like when you look at Juan Miro or Picasso sculpture, you know, it's something very pure. It's look like the innocence of the childhood, something like that. And I think I can use it because it's about a story of 13 years old boy. So I decided to change the idea of the film and to start to make a film with the clay figurine. But it's a little bit difficult to explain to your partner, you know. You will start a film with figurine. People ask me, it will move, you will animate it. No, they will stay fixed. Like they represent our soul, etc., etc. You know, you can develop a lot of idea around that. But it's still difficult to make a 1 hour and a half film with a figurine that do not move. So, but we are in the time of gravity, you know. Big picture, nice thing, remarkable technically. And say that maybe we have to come back with our hand to produce something with clay, with water, and dry it with the sun, like the element of life that make you live. And maybe with that, you can make a film or some story about genocide. I try to make a fiction, you know, but it's not possible for me. Maybe it's much more easier for people who did not live directly genocide, to direct actor, actress, how to die in genocide, how to kill. But it seemed to me a little bit hard for people who live directly with genocide, you know, to deal with this. So I tried for many years to find a form that can permit me to tell this story. And the clay is good because after the film, he traveled with me a little bit. And maybe he will be back to the clay, to the water, to the dust. There's no trace, just one soul who live with us forever.
Those of you who haven't seen the film, it's absolutely fascinating. It truly is made with clay figures who represent Rithy's family against archival footage of the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge, and it is harrowing in that it is both incredibly emotional and yet you're distanced from it. It's not the same thing as watching a documentary or a reenactment. So if there is such a thing, you're able to actually think about what's going on and what's being done. It's really quite remarkable.
I couldn't agree more.
Good, good.
The most moving picture I've seen in many, many years. Amazing film, definitely.
I can just see me going into a studio head's office and proposing a film with clay figures that don't move. And your film, where does it stem from?
Well, I tried racing that over here. Took about 15 minutes.
So
it was a bit difficult.
I read
topic.
that. Did you actually think of making it in English? An American
Yeah, I did
film?
one phone call because I thought you've got some great isolated cities surrounded by trees and some great actors over here, and I wanted to do that. And my agent said, "Are you crazy? You can't convince any bankers over here that and about this topic. You won't be able to raise $1." And so we went back to Denmark, and I'm really happy we did that. I think it found its own purity back home.
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah. The whole thing started with my shrink. Or a guy to become my shrink. He knocked my door. I had done a film many, many years ago, The Celebration, which was... Thank you.
Were you about 17?
Yeah. It's about 68 years ago. It was about a man who, at his father's 60th birthday, conveys the truth of the child abuse his father had committed to him throughout his life. Wonderful birthday party, and after that film, a lot of people wanted me to do other movies. Like every day I went to do shopping or something, someone came over to me and said, I just knocked down my dad, and you got to make that movie. Or, horrible stories they wanted me to make. And one of those nights, a guy knocks my door and he says, "Did you do The Celebration?" And I said, "Yes." "Well, then there's another film you have to do." "Fine." There's these cases about children and added memory. He talked about a thing called, he considered the thought a virus. How a wrong thought possibly can spread. And it was all very fascinating. But at that time I had enough of The Celebration. So I put away these files, didn't read them. And it took me about 8 years. And then I needed a shrink. And I thought, I'll walk down the road and talk to him. And out of politeness, I read these cases. And I was profoundly shocked and moved by it. One of the first things I read was that 18 different kids had been interrogated and had given testimony about a basement, have given the same precise description about the colors of the wall, all the details. And the police goes to this house to do a search of this place, and there is no basement. It's all a collective fantasy. And I was like, I have to dig into this. And I called Tobias Lindholm, the greatest writer of our times, and he was onto it immediately, and then we started.
Huh. It would. At what point did you consider making it as an American film? Once you had a finished script, or just as an idea?
Just as an idea. Denmark is a great, great country. I love it, but it's very tiny and can feel very claustrophobic. And I had an urge to get out. But I'm still really happy that we went back. It seems like when we dig into our own little backyard, that less is more. That things grow bigger that way.
It's interesting. An American audience would have said, why did not the Mads Mikkelsen character get a lawyer involved right away? We do that anyhow.
That question, that and what happened to the dog is very...
Right.
We've got that.
We're very concerned about the dogs here.
It's got 8 puppies now.
But I saw in response to the lawyer question, you said that had he gotten a lawyer in Denmark, that would have told everybody that he was guilty.
Totally. We just don't do that too much. We can go to a hospital and there's no lawyers. So...
Paolo, Paolo last night said he set out to make a film about everything, and he ended up making a film about nothing. But you better explain that, because I think it's one of the most ambitious films I've ever seen.
Yeah, because at the beginning, the genesis of the movie started 20 years ago when I went to Rome to work, and I started to gather materials about everything I saw of different respect my city, Naples. So I started to gather materials about Vatican, about television world, some people in the parties, and I put on my notebook many things about people that were unbearable, insupportabili.
Oh, unbearable.
Unbearable, yeah, and that I ate. But then later when I went back at home, slowly I found out that the things and the people that I hated something of interesting, and so I started to think about a movie where the pain and the misery of the human being could be a resource for themselves and for everybody. And so I get many materials in the years, and for this reason it started to be a movie about everything, because there was so many things that it was a movie about yes, everything. And but all those things were stupid and useless things. So we, me and my co-writer, we found out suddenly that it was exactly the opposite. It was a movie about a thing that Flaubert called the nothing, the waste of time, the chat between the people, the history of love that start, but they died soon after. And so about all these things we to do a movie, but only after we had the idea of a character, a journalist that has the chance to go everywhere and in all these contexts, and that's it.
Let me ask you, what has the reaction been in Italy to the film? Because it certainly doesn't, as many wonderful things as it says about modern day Italy, it doesn't necessarily paint a rosy picture of where the Italian spirit is today.
Yeah, no, there is a gap of communication between me and some people in Italy, because they don't understand that I love that people, and so I think that they are good people, and some people believe that this is not true, that I do a picture of Italy like something of bad and decadent. But I believe exactly the opposite, that the decadence and the decadence could be a beautiful thing. Yes, that's my idea. So we have a problem of communication, but and then some people recognize themselves, and so they were a little bit. They didn't like this thing, but at the same time, who was not inside the movie was disappointed, because they would love to stay in. So the Italian people is not easy to satisfy.
I believe in accepting the Golden Globe, you recognized, was it your crazy and beautiful country?
Yes, I said this.
Hany, what about you? Where does Omar come from?
I actually thank you, Kevin, for the nice introduction. But it really started also after Paradise Now. Even you are nominated, you will get a lot of offers from Hollywood, a lot of scripts, and they will put you in the luxury hotels with a swimming pool. And I felt immediately like Barton Fink. It's like, with a lot of money, with no with writer block. And one night I panicked. After I think 3-4 years, I truly panicked in Los Angeles. It started here in Los Angeles. I was in a Lowe's hotel with on the swimming pool that night, and then went to bed. And in the night I panicked like I couldn't. I was so scared and sweating. And then I asked myself, why I'm not doing good things here? And the answer was because whatever we do here, it's mostly artificial and not coming from real life. And I really wanted to do something from my own experience. And I remember, like, one of my traumatic experience was when I was doing Paradise Now. I felt that I believed that there was a traitor inside my crew. And if you think there was a traitor, like, inside your crew spying on you, you become insane because you don't know who it is, and you start to suspect everybody, including yourself, because you think maybe my phone is bugged of my hotel room. I start to register myself in one room and to sleep in another room. Insane. And this idea, I just wanted to translate it in an universal way, and it was the best way is love. Because in love, we all recognize this paranoia feeling, because when you are in love and insecure, you start to suspect your lover. And like, if she will get any SMS, you will think, oh my God, there is a man behind this SMS. And then with this, like, I start to write at 4 o'clock in the morning in LA, when I wake up in panic. And at 8 o'clock was the structure of Omar done. And 4 days later was the whole script done. And usually I send the scripts to my scripts to James Seamus, a friend of mine, and I trust him. And always he will send back, after 1 month, 30 pages of notes. And I was expecting the same, to develop the script. And then for the first time, he will call me, James Seamus, and he will say to whom I should speak to your lawyer or your agent. And I said, what about the notes? And he said, no notes, we will do this movie. And I said, no, I don't want to be involved anymore with the Hollywood system, because it will if I will do it through the Hollywood system, I will be stuck again. And you know that. And he said, you are right, but I will help you to raise the money, and we start to, to do it. We did it by our own. I approached Walid Zoaiter, a friend of mine, an actor, and I want him to be in the movie. And after he read the script, he said, okay, I'm going to help you with raising the money. His brothers and anchor investors, they put most of the money, and they found from friends and family the rest of the $2 million. And so we did it.
I would like to talk about the casting process, because all 5 of these movies, and no surprise, are beautifully cast. There's not a false note in them, and in a lot of them there are unseasoned actors, and probably actors acting in a film for the first time, and several of you have children. Felix, how did you go about it? You have a play that you've seen, starring the man who wrote it, and I'm assuming that there was no question about that Jonah was always going to play that part. How did you go about casting the other parts, the other key parts, including the band? And then also you have a remarkable young girl who I believe is 5 or 6 in the film, who not only is a wonderful, really inspired actress, but she has to play some very difficult, medical scenes. How did you go about it?
Well, I saw the play, and Johan was great, and the actress who played in the play was great too. But when I started writing, I felt that I wanted to do auditions, that I wasn't sure if she should play it. I think the fantasy about this character changed a bit, and so after writing the first draft, after a couple of months, I did auditions, and saw great actresses. They all had to perform 2 songs and do a couple of scenes. With Johan, he was there. And then the last actress to show up was Veerle. And she had worked with Dirk. She was working with Dirk on TV series. She's the most famous actress in Belgium, so it was no surprise that I asked her. And she's also, she was really good in that series, so I really wanted to see her. And before she came, I was doubting, maybe this actress, maybe this actress would be better. I was doubting, and then she came along and she just nailed it. I mean, the magic was there. She and Johan, I saw the spark. I was moved. It was magical, and but especially because at some point we were doing the scene, a very emotional scene in the film where the couple starts to blame one another after the death of the child. So we were doing that scene in the audition, not an easy scene, and she had a hard time getting into it. She felt, I thought it was already good, but she felt, and then Johan said, if you wanna use me, use me. So we do another take, and she starts hitting him, and more, and then he it became a little violent actually, and then after that she went into the scene again, and it was great. So it was a remarkable experience for both Johan and me, and we were actually a little scared of her because of that, and not just the hitting, but this thing she brought along. I think she added a darkness to this character which this character needed. I mean, it wasn't written. She really brought it along. I believe that this woman could commit suicide. That she could be that disappointed in life to do it. So that was the reason why she had to do it. And to talk about the little girl, I think we were really afraid of this, how to deal with this, and deal with the parents. Asking parents to for their daughter to play a girl that dies of cancer. So it was weird. I felt very weird about it. So we had 100 little girls come by, I think, that auditioned, and then we at some point we chose 7 or 8, and then we decided to work a couple of weeks with them, just have them come in and see how they got, if they would get better. And then also we started talking to the parents, telling them what the story was about, and asking the parents to think about if they would be okay with it, and to talk with the kid too, and to read the script. And so that was a great experience, because I felt that once you started talking about it, it made it very, very easy. And none of the parents had a problem with it. Thought at some point, because they were wondering, how would you do the bald head? Well, we'll probably do makeup. And it became something fun. Just by talking about it. And Nell, who actually got the role, she came back 6 weeks in a row, and she got better every time. She wasn't she was a little bit shy in the beginning, but she got better every time, and that's why we thought at some point she has to be it, because her attention span got better, she was interested, she had fun, and that's why we chose to work with her. And the crazy thing was, once I had chosen her and I brought her together with Johan and Veerle, immediately they bonded and became a family. And on set, it wasn't usually, a lot of times it wasn't even me directing, it was just Johan and Veerle, because they were with her in the shot, and they would tell her, a little more this, a little more that. So it was amazing.
And the band members, were they the same band members who were in the play?
Actually, there's only the violin player who was in the play and in the movie, and who's also the musician. So the musicians were changed. We brought in another guy. His name is Bjorn Eriksson. He had been playing bluegrass music since he was 15 years old, and he brought a great authenticity to the music. And he recorded the music together with Johan and Vele. They sung all their own songs, and he brought along his musicians and the violin player, like I said. But then for the movie, we casted actors to play the musicians because they look better, I guess.
I was going to ask you, did you cast actors who could? Did you go for actors and then find out who the musicians were, or the other way around?
Yeah, I did some auditions, and the people I asked, I realized very quickly that a lot of them could play music, and then, like the guy who plays the mandolin, he plays a little guitar, and very quickly he was like playing it and loving it. The guy who plays the dobro too, he's an actor, but also he plays a little bit of guitar. And only the guitar player, he did a really bad job actually. But you only have these shots until here,
Right.
and then we had like takes from a real guitar player, so we made it work that way.
So now I understand the music from this film is absolutely extraordinary, American bluegrass, and I understand it's the top-selling music soundtrack of a film in Belgium.
Yeah, we beat Titanic. Yeah, it's amazing how it took off, and and this band, with Johan and Vele, they last year they toured all year. They did summer festivals, and when we go back, they will do another tour of 30 shows.
Fantastic. Rithy, talking to you about casting is a completely different subject. Since you have no actors in your film, you have a narrator, a very seductive narrator who is completely unsettling, because sometimes he's very matter of fact about some of the most horrendous incidences. How did you cast him? Why didn't you use your own voice? And very importantly, why is it in French?
It's in French. It's the first film that we write the text in French first, because it's like a homage to my father. And
To your father?
Yeah, my father, he spoke French fluently, and he liked very much the French poetry. And when he understood that the Khmer Rouge will destroy everything. The facts of the genocide, it's not only killing people, but they destroy their dignity first and their identity. And so when he understands that the Khmer Rouge proceed to eliminate everything, he start to speak French and to tell the poem, and because it's mean that it's difficult to resist, because you were abroad, they use hunger as a weapon, you were deported. So he find the solution to find something to resist against this regime. So he start to speak the French, because it's knowledge that is belong to him. You can maybe kill him, but not his thought, not his imagination, not the poetry. So I think it's a strong lesson for me, how to resist even by silence. And we must to resist, because people say that history don't repeat, but they repeat every time. See, maybe tomorrow Russian tank will go to Ukraine.
Yep.
Don't remember, it's happened today now. And remember people in Venezuela, how they fight now. So we are here to like a mirror, like something. Of course, we make film, it's very subjective, but we are here also to transmit a message, to tell people that, you must to stand up, you must to resist. And we like the comment on dit en transmetteur?
To transmit?
Yeah,
To-
to transmit a
carry a
message.
message,
Yeah,
right.
that those people who died sent to the next generation. We artists, we like this transmit. We must do the transmission. So I find I try to have some artists to tell it in French, but at the end I ask my friend Randall Duc, who is a mathematician, but he's also but he like very much to play actor, but he's a very highly well mathematician. He teach in the very great school in Paris. But so I asked him, tell it and put nothing inside the words, no sentiment, nothing, just to be neutral. And you say it's very difficult for him, and it was difficult for me. You say that there's no casting. There's casting. Yeah, clay is casting. It's casting, If there's no casting, you cannot feel the soul behind the clay figurine. So to have to cast them, and each clay figurine is unique. We are not a factory. I have only one sculptor for 800 figurine. Only one guy work 7-day week, and each sequence we have to talk about which one will be at the front, which one will be at the background, and how it's feel, how he must to express what is the subject. It's very difficult, and each figurine is unique. And after that, maybe we, if the figurine is how it's done, exists, you cannot put the voice, you cannot put the score, you cannot put everything, it cannot work. So the first thing is the figurine. Maybe we are lucky because in our culture, when we pray, for example, when we pray before the Buddha statue, we do not pray the clay or the stone, we pray the spirit behind the Buddha. When the Buddha come here, he will go to museum. It's become art, but maybe they have any more spirit. But in Cambodia, you have the spirit everywhere, in the mountain, in the river, in each statue. So when we, maybe it helps the sculptor to produce his figurine.
That's fascinating because you're absolutely right. Each figurine has its own personality without its moving, with its what's being said about it, how it's dressed, the expression on its face, and the situation in which it's done. There's sometimes it doesn't entirely work when you see behind the scenes, but it's actually very, very, I think, fascinating in your end credits when we see your studio and we get an idea of how everything was created and shot.
It's very small, like this one. But at the end, I have my bed, my studio, my figurine, everything with me, in the same room. Because sometimes we finish the shoot at 6 o'clock, and I start editing until 4 in the morning, and we work like that. And at the end, I leave and I sleep just next to my figurine. It's like these people. It's like we are talking with them every day. I cannot really. I try. I try. I try to forget everything first, but it's not possible. So now I have to deal with. To deal with it means that I still talking with those who died, and of his, just to try to give them back their dignity by making each film. If I didn't know the genocide, maybe I will not be here. Probably I will teach. I like teaching. I like school. I like. So I come to cinema because of this tragic story. But I learn day by day to love cinema. Now maybe at the end of my life I will make a musical comedy. It means that I feel better.
Well, you heard Gavin. You should come to Hollywood. Yeah. Thomas, obviously you have a huge star in your film, and I'm assuming most of the other actors, because I recognize several of them, are obviously professional actors. Did you use any people from the where you were shooting? Was it all pretty much a regular casting of bona fide actors? And how in the world did you find the little girl who played Clara, who is, just looking at this clip again, I'm reminded of how expressive she is, and when the hurt she feels without showing any sort of trite child hurt when she's rebuffed by her friend and teacher.
Well, first of all, I was told never to work with children or animals, and in fact, it paid off really well. They're nice to work with. They don't ask questions. You ask them to bark, and they do. No offense, Max. It's a walk in the park. I can recommend it. But no, obviously, I've always had the desire to work with Mads Mikkelsen. I just wanted the right part for him. And the rest of the cast many of them are my friends. It's a small country, people I've worked with before. My process is very often trying to write for specific actors, to put them in places where I think they should be. And but in case of this little girl, we have this brilliant casting director who was also coaching her throughout the film, and she was just amazing. She was just really good, and she could digest everything I said, and she could digest it as a grown-up. And
how much did you let her know?
Well, we had to let her know that people were angry with her and that she had lied, but of course we could not confront her with anything sexual.
She, so for those of you who haven't seen the film, the little girl sees at one point a glimpse on her brother's iPad, a pornographic image, which she then somehow internalizes and is affected by the scene we just saw when she makes a casual statement, but she has just a little bit of this information she got from her brother's iPad that gives it a certain reality.
And obviously, with a bit of editing, we avoided her being confronted with that iPad and stuff. But you know, she was just brilliant. The crew would start spontaneously applauding her after a take because she just wiped the floor, and Mads was fairly intimidated when the camera turned to him. Isn't that right? Up against a dog and an innocent child all the time. So no, that was a brilliant experience, and she enjoyed it. She enjoyed the applause, and she enjoyed it like a bit of a sports game. So she very rapidly became really, really good and learned from this and embraced it. And doesn't want to be an actress. She's not spoiled in that. I think she wants to do ping pong or something. Yeah.
Has she seen the film?
Yes, she's seen the film. Thought it was fine. I think that's how it is. I think there are other films she would rather see, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Paolo, you've now worked with your lead actor 4 times, right? On 4 films. One of the most astonishing reviews, one of the great reviews of your film, and certainly in the English language, came from the New Yorker not too long ago, and the review is almost half of it is about, I think it's from Anthony Lane, I think about half of it is about Tony Servillo having one of the great faces all-time faces of cinema, and I think it's absolutely true. And so I'm assuming when you wrote this, you knew he was going to play Jeb. The rest of the casting process, are these actors you normally work with, or?
Sometimes. No, I agree about Tony Servillo, and I choose the actors following two ideas. The first was that since the set and shooting is very boring, the best thing was to get funny actors. So I choose mostly funny actors like Carlo Buccirosso, Carlo Verdone, Sabrina Ferilli, Yaya Forte, and Tony Servillo is the funniest of all. So it was for me a good idea to work with him, and then we did 4 movies together, and that kind of a character was perfect for him. He recognized soon the kind of character. And the other idea was to choose actors that, like he said, that do the less questions possible. If but not because I am not able to not because I don't want to do the answer, but because before shooting I don't have answers. So I start to have answers only after the second, the third take, and before, if the people give 2 questions, I appear like a stupid, and I don't like to seem as stupid.
Which take do you usually use? The first, the second, the third, the fourth?
Often the last one.
Yeah.
The last one is the best. Yeah. The last one is the 6, 7, 8. Yes.
And do you let them read the whole script, the actors?
Yes. Because if they read the script, I have more chance to not receive many questions, because some answers are in the script. So I give to everybody the script if they desire to read the script.
And then I'm assuming you don't do a rehearsal process.
No, because at the beginning, the first movies I have done, I did many rehearsals, but then when we arrived on the stage, on the set, after too many rehearsals, I found that the actors were a little bit tired. They were not able to give too many surprises. So now I prefer to not do rehearsal, and so it's more exciting on the set for me and for them to find out what happened. Yeah.
Thanks. You also have an enormous cast in this film, and you know, a little bit of everybody. In fact, now I think about it, the start of the movie I think is a bunch of Japanese tourists, right? By the way, in the opening of the film, I only understood, I think, on this third viewing, because I thought, what exactly does this tourist who collapses, what exactly is his relevance? And I as you heard me say, I'm a huge fan of the film, and I thought it was my failing that I didn't fit it in. I'm assuming he's reacting to the beauty of Rome and is basically collapsing. That's what I'm assuming. So.
Yes, but if I have to say the truth, I think that the beginning of a movie must be something of strong and ambiguous, so you can ask what happened at the beginning, and you can. Yeah. So I don't know exactly why he dies. Yes, there is the beauty of Rome, but.
It's funny, we were in the lobby, and a friend of mine just asked Mads who shot him at the end of the hunt, and he said you guys didn't know.
Well, the answer is all of us, or my props manager. You can pick.
Perfect. Hany, what about you? You have very experienced actor who lives in the U.S. who is also your producer, one of your producers, and we've seen him in a number of movies and on stage in New York, but then surrounded by a very not only inexperienced, but I assume mostly first-time actors. Is that right?
Yes, and indeed, like Walid was easy cast because I knew him and he's a good actor, experienced actor. But the others, it's normal. Like there is a casting director, Juna Sulaiman. She asked everybody to put himself on tapes. I auditioned a lot of people. At the end, we end up with Adam, who actually just finished Lee Strasberg School in New York, and he became the lead actor. Then Leem, she was 16 at that time, never acted before, and now it's her first movie. Iyad is a theater actor, never acted in a film before. And Samer is also 16, was in a short movie before, but this is his first feature film.
And was it a long process?
Walid lives in LA, Adam now lives in New York, Leem and Samer in Nazareth, and Iyad in Ramallah.
Oh my gosh. And so you had one casting director find all of them, and since they didn't have agents, was it a process of going to schools?
Agents?
Wrong agent. Right. So is it going to school to find actors who?
I think like the casting director find Leem on internet, I think, through her sister. Actually, she asked her sister to audition. Her sister was in Italy, and she told her, "Why you don't ask my sister?" I think her sister is also here. But anyhow, this is how it goes. Like it's, through Facebook, through advertisement, through knowing people. You audition, like we auditioned more than 200 people. And at the end you choose just 5. It's normal casting process. I have no juicy stories about it. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
And do you shoot pretty much the script, or do you allow a lot of improv? For instance, where did Brando come from?
Yeah, the only improvised, or let's say I adapted from an actor, was the Brando joke, because I knew like Amjad has to make a joke there because he will be the funny guy, the comic relief. And there was in the script was a longer, like he will tell a joke. But then when I saw him one morning and on the breakfast, he was doing Brando. And I felt this is better than the whole joke, because this is like, and this is how I adapted that Brando imitation to the script. But the rest was pretty the same, like all of the other things were written during the 4 days of panic.
Right. So, and Omar just opened on last Friday in the U.S., is that right?
Yes, it's playing in 50 theaters in the U.S. Adopt Film distributed. We are so happy with it, and I think 50 screens. They are for us huge. I mean, and I thank them for doing that.
And no surprise to spectacular reviews. And then Paolo, your film, I noticed is playing across the street. How long ago did it open in the U.S.?
It opened in or October or November. I don't remember exactly, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, October.
And
November. Sorry, I was optimistic. November.
And then it played throughout the summer this last summer in Italy.
Yes, in Italy it was released in May of the last year, soon after the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah.
Right, and I'm assuming it was a huge hit, no?
In Italy, yes, it was. Yeah. when people don't love something, they run to go to see.
And then, Thomas, The Hunt opened in the U.S. some time ago, and in fact, it's probably already available on DVD and in
It's
subtitle.
on Netflix and DVD, but reopened here
Yeah.
in Los Angeles for some reason. Not long ago, and but it opened in all the way. This is a long journey. It started in Cannes 12, and then it opened in January 13 in Denmark, and became a massive box office success in a tiny country though, but which was a very big satisfaction for us with this topic and all, and that was great. And it was interesting because it moved from the cultural pages into the debate sections of the newspapers, which I think made it a bigger film back there.
Bigger.
Yeah.
And Mads won Cannes as Best Actor, right?
And he should, and he deserved it. Yeah, obviously. Working with a hyper intelligent, generous team player like him is just a miracle, and he deserves all the praise he can get.
The lights are low. I hope he's still here. We've been talking about him a lot. And then the missing picture, I noticed it was playing in one theater in the Valley couple of months ago. What has it? Where has it played in the U.S.? And with the nomination, is there any chance it will get re-released in America?
I think that it will come in 3 weeks in here in New York, but it's Marcus who in Strange Releasing work hard on that, and I hope that the Oscar nominee will help Strange Releasing to have more theater. And it was released in Cambodia last year after Cannes festival, and we will release it again in the 6th March. But now, I was in the street when people send me the SMS to tell me that you are nominee for the Oscar. What happened? But on the street in middle of the night in Phnom Penh, it was a little bit surprised. And now, few weeks later, you have a group of young people who build website, Facebook, something like that. They have 1,000 people now on Facebook to support, and I'm very happy because the film it belong to them, to these young people who were after the genocide, Khmer genocide. They appropriate the story. They are proud. They not proud about the genocide, but proud about we are still here today. It's mean that we are alive. That this totalitarianism cannot destroy us. We are here, and it's very important for us.
Felix, Broken Circle Breakdown. When did it open? It was not long ago, right?
In the US, you mean? November, also October, November, and then it was. I think it opened throughout the United States. It was re-released after we got nominated, and it's already available on iTunes and VOD and DVD soon, I guess.
And you told me that you had it wasn't until the Berlin Film Festival last year that it really started to take on a life of its own, right?
Yeah, because we released it in Belgium 6 months prior to the festival, and it took a while for the movie to find its way. We were turned down by numerous festivals, and we were like, maybe it's not going to happen with this movie. Maybe we were wrong. Although it did very well in Belgium, but we thought maybe people think this is just strange, Belgians playing bluegrass, which it is. But then we went to Berlin. We're very fortunate to get selected in the panorama section, and it was the most incredible premiere that we could have had, and it sold all over the world there, and we've been traveling with the movie since.
And you just won the César yesterday, right, for the
Yep.
best foreign language film?
Yep, we did. Thank you.
If you haven't already, do yourselves a huge favor and go see these 5 films one way or another. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mark.